Opening. Have you ever noticed how we often measure success by the size of our paycheck, the title on our business card, or the things we can buy? Society tells us that if we earn more, climb higher, or outshine others, then we've made it. But the Buddha taught a very different truth, one that flips this entire idea of making a living on its head. In the Noble Eightfold Path, there's a teaching called right livelihood. It's about more than just having a job. It's about the way we choose to support ourselves, the way we exchange our energy for the resources of life. And here's the heart of it. The Buddha said that the way we earn should not cause harm to ourselves, to others, or to the world we live in. Think about that for a moment. Earning a living isn't just about putting food on the table. It's also about the kind of seeds we plant in our hearts every single day. If our work is rooted in dishonesty, exploitation, or harm, maybe we enjoy a quick profit, maybe we get ahead in the short term, but what are we really feeding inside ourselves? Guilt, restlessness, fear of being found out. It's like drinking salty water when we are thirsty. The more we take in, the emptier and more unsatisfied we feel. On the other hand, when we choose work that is honest and clean, even if it doesn't make us rich, it brings something priceless, peace of mind. Have you ever felt that quiet joy of looking at something you earned with your own honest effort? Maybe it's the pride of a farmer watching seeds turn into food. Or the simple relief of paying the bills from money made through your own skill, not through cutting corners or hurting someone else. That feeling is light, steady, and deeply fulfilling. Right livelihood is like planting a tree. At first, it doesn't seem like much, maybe just a small seed. But day by day, as you water it with integrity and care, it grows. Eventually, it provides shade not only for you but also for everyone around you. When our work aligns with honesty and compassion, it nourishes more than our bank account. It nourishes our soul. It nourishes our relationships. It creates a legacy that outlives us. Here's a question to reflect on. Is the way I earn my living adding to the suffering of the world, or reducing it? That question alone can shift how we look at our daily grind. Suddenly, work isn't just about surviving, it becomes part of our spiritual practice, a way to live out kindness and wisdom in the real world. And maybe you're wondering, but what if I'm stuck in a job that feels misaligned with these values? The truth is, right livelihood isn't about perfection. It's about awareness and direction. Every small step you take toward honesty, toward compassion, toward integrity in your work, those steps matter. They are like drops of water filling a jar. Over time, they change the whole story of your life. So, as we begin this journey together, let's remember, a livelihood rooted in harm might look shiny on the outside, but will eventually corrode from within. But a livelihood built on honesty, care, and service, even if it looks modest, creates unshakable peace. That's the kind of wealth the Buddha pointed to. And maybe, just maybe, it's the kind of wealth we've been searching for all along. What is right livelihood? So let's start with the basics. What does right livelihood actually mean? It sounds like a heavy phrase, almost philosophical, but at its heart, it's very simple. Right livelihood is about choosing work that keeps our body, our speech, and our mind clean. In plain words, it means making a living without harming yourself or others. The Buddha gave us a clear map here. Avoid actions that destroy life. Avoid stealing. Avoid using our sexuality to harm or manipulate. And avoid lying or deceiving others. Think of these as the guardrails on a winding road. They don't limit your freedom, they actually keep you safe from crashing. Now, let's imagine two people. One of them makes money by cheating others, maybe they cut corners at work, or maybe they are in a business that thrives on dishonesty. At first, it looks like they are ahead. The money comes fast, the lifestyle seems shiny. But deep down, there's a constant restlessness. What if I get caught? What if people find out? That fear becomes a shadow that follows them everywhere. The second person might be doing something modest, maybe they are a teacher, a craftsman, a caregiver. Their paycheck might not impress anyone on social media. But when they rest their head at night, there's no heaviness in the heart. They can say, I didn't harm anyone today. I gave something honest to the world. And that kind of sleep, that kind of peace, is something no amount of money can buy. Here's the beautiful paradox. When we live in alignment with right livelihood, we often discover a sense of wealth that has nothing to do with numbers in a bank account. It's a wealth of integrity, of self-respect, of quiet joy. Think about the times in your own life when you did the right thing, even if it cost you. Do you remember the lightness you felt afterwards? That's the essence of right livelihood. But here's the hard part. In today's world, many of us find ourselves caught in gray zones. Maybe our job isn't bad in the obvious way, but it still makes us question, am I really helping the world, or just adding to its problems? That question can be uncomfortable, but it's also the doorway to transformation. The Buddha never asked us to be perfect overnight. He invited us to practice awareness. To ask ourselves, again and again, does my work create more compassion, or more harm? And maybe you've noticed this in your own journey. The work we do shapes who we become. Spend years lying, and the mind gets tangled in lies. Spend years harming, and the heart hardens. But spend years helping, creating, serving, and the mind softens, the heart opens, and life begins to bloom in unexpected ways. Right livelihood isn't about limiting your choices. It's about pointing you toward the kind of life that feels free from regret. It's about building a foundation where both your hands and your heart stay clean. And the reward isn't just in the future, it's here and now. It's the calm that comes when you know you don't have to look over your shoulder. It's the strength of knowing your life is aligned with something greater than profit. It's aligned with truth. So let me leave you with this question. If you stripped away the paycheck, the status, and the approval of others, would you still feel proud of how you earn your living? If the answer is yes, then you're already touching the essence of right livelihood. If not, then maybe this is the invitation you've been waiting for, to take one small step closer to work that nourishes your soul as much as it sustains your body. The origin of honest livelihood. Every job, every path of livelihood, has a beginning. And that beginning isn't found in an office, a contract, or a paycheck. It starts much deeper. It begins in the mind. The Buddha taught that the way we choose to earn a living grows directly from the seeds in our hearts. If our mind is clouded with greed, fear, or the hunger for quick gain, we are naturally drawn toward work that takes shortcuts, that manipulates, that harms. But when the mind is gentle, compassionate, and steady, it gravitates toward work that supports, that heals, that builds. The truth is simple but powerful. The job reflects the mind, and the mind reflects the job. Think about it. Two people can look at the same opportunity and see completely different things. One person sees a chance to exploit, to squeeze profit at any cost. Another sees a chance to serve, to create something meaningful. It's not the opportunity itself that defines them, it's the lens of their heart. I remember speaking with a friend who worked in finance. At first, he loved the rush, the adrenaline, the thrill of making fast money. But over time, he confessed that he felt empty, even trapped. It's like my job is shaping me into someone I don't even recognize, he said. His work was amplifying the seeds of greed already inside him, until they began to consume everything. Contrast that with another story. A woman who left a high-paying job because she realized it was eating away at her integrity. She became a social worker. The paycheck was smaller, but she said something that stayed with me. Every day I may not gain much in wealth, but I gain myself back. That's the power of choosing livelihood that grows out of compassion rather than greed. This is why the Buddha emphasized awareness of the mind. Before you even look at the job market, before you even send out a resume, the most important question is, what seeds am I watering inside myself? If I water greed, I'll be pulled into work that feeds greed. If I water kindness, I'll be guided toward work that lets kindness flow into the world. And maybe this feels abstract, but you've probably experienced it in small ways. When you're angry or impatient, even the simplest tasks feel heavy, rushed, and careless. But when your heart is calm, even washing the dishes feels like an act of care. Multiply that across years of work, and you begin to see how the state of the heart shapes the entire direction of your livelihood. Here's something worth reflecting on. Is your job shaping your heart, or is your heart shaping your job? Too often, we let the pressures of survival, of comparison, of success push us into roles that don't align with who we really are. But when we return to the root, the mind, we remember that we always have a choice. Maybe not always to quit instantly, but always to shift how we relate to our work, and eventually to move towards something that feels true. The origin of honest livelihood, then, isn't about the economy, or luck, or talent, it's about the soil of the heart. Plant seeds of greed, and you harvest restlessness. Plant seeds of compassion, and you harvest peace. Work, after all, is just an extension of who we are. And the world doesn't just need more jobs, it needs more people whose hearts are awake. So let me leave you with this question. What kind of seeds are you planting with the way you live and work today? The 5 wrong livelihoods the Buddha warned against. When the Buddha spoke about right livelihood, he didn't just give us inspiring ideas, he also gave us very clear guidance. He said there are 5 kinds of work we should avoid, because they bring harm not only to others, but also to ourselves. These are trading in weapons, trading in human beings, trading in meat, trading in intoxicants like alcohol, and trading in poisons. At first, this might sound like advice from a distant time. After all, most of us aren't running an arms factory or selling poison. But if we look closer, we see that these teachings are timeless. They ask us to examine the ripple effects of the work we do. Let's take the first one, weapons. Even today, entire industries thrive on making and selling machines designed only to kill. Of course, people will say it's for defense or security, but if the foundation of your livelihood is built on destruction, what seeds are you planting in the world? What seeds are you planting in your own heart? Then there's the trading of human beings. We think of slavery as something from the past, but modern-day human trafficking is one of the darkest realities of our time. Whenever people are treated as objects, reduced to numbers or profits, suffering is multiplied. The Buddha's warning reminds us, human dignity should never be for sale. The third livelihood is the selling of meat. In ancient India, this was directly tied to killing animals. The Buddha encouraged compassion for all living beings, and he saw that making profit from slaughter not only harms the animals, but it hardens the heart of those involved. Today, this teaching might make us ask, how does our food industry align with compassion? Even if we eat meat, are there ways to support practices that reduce suffering rather than ignore it? The fourth is the selling of intoxicants, alcohol, and drugs. Think about how many families have been torn apart by addiction. How many accidents, crimes, and moments of regret are linked to substances that cloud the mind. When your livelihood profits from keeping people numb or enslaved to cravings, it's not just their suffering you're feeding, it's your own karma, too. And finally, poisons. In the Buddha's time, this referred to toxic substances that harmed life. In our world, this could also mean harmful chemicals, pollution, or industries that poison the earth itself. It raises a modern question. What do we pour into the rivers, the air, the soil, all for the sake of profit? And what happens when the very planet that sustains us can no longer breathe? Notice the common thread in all 5 of these livelihoods. They spread suffering. They might generate wealth in the short term, but they corrode the heart, damage communities, and leave scars that last for generations. The Buddha wasn't condemning people. He was guiding us to ask, is the way I make a living adding more suffering to the world, or less? Of course, life is complicated. Sometimes we find ourselves in industries or jobs that fall into these gray areas. But awareness is the first step. The more we reflect, the more we can make choices, small or big, that align with compassion. Even if we can't change everything overnight, we can begin to shift, to plant seeds of work that heal instead of harm. So maybe this is the takeaway. A career that thrives on destruction will eventually destroy the peace of the one who profits from it. But a career rooted in compassion plants peace in both the world and the heart. Let me leave you with this reflection. If you had to weigh your paycheck against the suffering it might cause, which one would you choose? Working to sustain the body, not to feed endless greed. Let's pause and ask ourselves a simple question: why do we work? For most of us, the answer seems obvious: we work to earn money. But if we look a little deeper, the Buddha gave us a different perspective. He said the wise person doesn't work just to satisfy endless greed. They work to sustain life, to feed the body, to care for their family, to support their parents, to help those in need, and to plant seeds of goodness for the future. That's a radical shift, isn't it? In a world that constantly tells us to hustle harder, buy more, and climb higher, the Buddha invites us to step back and ask, when is enough enough? Think about it. Greed is like a fire, you can keep throwing logs on it, but it never says, that's enough. The more you feed it, the bigger it burns, until eventually it consumes you. You see this everywhere: people who sacrifice their health, their families, even their own peace of mind, chasing a number on a screen, or the next shiny object. And when they finally get it, they realize it's never quite enough. But working simply to sustain life feels different. It's like tending a small garden. You don't plant it to boast about having the biggest field, you plant it to feed your family, to share with neighbors, to enjoy the simple joy of watching things grow. That's the essence of right livelihood, work that nourishes life, not work that feeds endless hunger. I once met a man who told me that his happiest memory wasn't the day he bought his dream car, but the day he used his paycheck to buy medicine for his sick mother. That money disappeared in a moment, he said, but the joy of seeing her heal, that stayed with me forever. That's what happens when we shift the purpose of work. It becomes more than survival or accumulation, it becomes an act of love. And here's something worth reflecting on: if we work not only for ourselves, but also with the intention of supporting others, how different would our world look? Imagine if every paycheck carried a little kindness in it, food shared with the hungry, support for a struggling friend, or a donation that plants trees for the next generation. Suddenly, work is no longer just about survival. It becomes a way of participating in the cycle of compassion. Of course, this doesn't mean we can't enjoy what we earn. Life is to be lived, not endured. But the key is awareness. Are we working to nourish life, or are we just feeding greed? One brings peace, the other brings exhaustion. So maybe the deeper question isn't, how much money do I make, but rather, what is my work really feeding? Is it feeding my body, my family, and the well-being of others, or is it only feeding the bottomless hunger of desire? The Buddha's wisdom reminds us that wealth isn't measured by how much we accumulate, but by how much good we can do with what we have. When we work with that perspective, every task, big or small, becomes sacred. Because at the end of the day, a body sustained with enough food, a heart full of gratitude, and a spirit that gives back to the world, that's true wealth. A pure mind, a pure livelihood. When we talk about right livelihood, many people immediately think about the kind of job they are doing. Is it ethical? Does it cause harm? And yes, those questions matter. But the Buddha reminds us of something even deeper. It's not just the form of the job, it's the heart behind it. Think about it. You could be in a perfectly respectable profession, something society admires, something that looks clean from the outside. But if the way you practice it is rooted in greed, in deception, in taking advantage of others, then it no longer carries the fragrance of purity. On the surface, the work may be fine, but the spirit within it is corrupted. Take an example: someone running a shop. Selling food, clothes, or simple goods, nothing harmful. Yet if they cheat customers, lie about the quality, or secretly water down what they sell just to gain a little more profit, can we truly say that's right livelihood? The shop is innocent, but the mind has been stained. On the other hand, imagine someone working in a tough, demanding job, maybe construction, maybe farming, maybe cleaning. Society might not put these jobs on a pedestal. But if that person works with honesty, with care, and with the simple wish to provide for their family without harming others, then their work is pure. It carries dignity, not because of its title, but because of the integrity of the person doing it. The Buddha's teaching here is powerful. Purity in livelihood doesn't come only from the nature of the job, but from the nature of the heart. If the heart is upright, the work becomes upright. If the heart is tainted, even the most prestigious job becomes a form of wrong livelihood. And this teaching invites us to ask ourselves, what is the spirit with which I go to work each day? Am I showing up to give my best, to serve with honesty, to create value without harm? Or am I secretly looking for shortcuts, loopholes, ways to manipulate the system for personal gain? When the mind is clean, work becomes more than survival, it becomes practice. It becomes a field where we plant seeds of generosity, kindness, and mindfulness. Every action, every transaction, every effort becomes an offering. That is why a pure livelihood is never just about the paycheck. It's about who we are becoming through the work we do. I often think about this when I meet people who radiate calm and trustworthiness. You can feel it in how they speak, in the way they treat others, in the honesty that shines through their actions. Their profession may be simple, but their presence leaves you with peace. That's the fruit of a pure heart expressed through pure work. So the question for us is not only, what do I do for a living? But also, what does the way I work reveal about the state of my mind? Because in the end, it's not just about making a living, it's about making a life that reflects integrity, compassion, and wisdom. The joy of honest work. There's a special kind of happiness that comes from honest work. It's not loud, not flashy, not the kind of joy that makes headlines. But it's steady, deep, and pure. It's the peace you feel when you hold money earned through your own effort, through your sweat, through the integrity of your actions. Think about the difference. When wealth comes from dishonest means, from exploiting others, cutting corners, or causing harm, it may bring temporary pleasure. But that pleasure is always shadowed by anxiety, by the fear of being exposed, by the unease of knowing, deep down, that something isn't right. It's like eating a sweet fruit that secretly poisons the body. On the surface, it tastes good, but it leaves behind a bitterness that never truly goes away. But when you earn your living with honesty, every dollar carries dignity. It's not just paper. It's a symbol of trust, of self-respect, of knowing that you didn't need to harm anyone to build your life. You can sleep peacefully at night because your hands are clean and your heart is light. I once met a man who worked as a street cleaner. His job wasn't glamorous. Many people overlooked him, sometimes even looked down on him. But when he talked about his work, his eyes shone with pride. He said, every morning, when people walk these streets, they don't notice the trash. But I do. And I know that my work makes their day easier. That's enough for me. His joy wasn't in wealth, but in the meaning of his effort. That story has always stayed with me, because it reminds me that honest work gives us something money can't buy, peace of mind. You don't need to be rich to feel rich in spirit. You don't need luxury to feel the quiet luxury of knowing your life is built on integrity. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt truly proud of something you worked for? Not because it was profitable, but because it was right. That kind of joy stays with you. It nourishes your heart long after the paycheck is spent. The Buddha teaches that wealth gained unjustly is like fire, it burns those who hold it. But wealth earned with honesty is like water, it refreshes, it nourishes, it sustains. It allows us to live without fear, without the constant weight of guilt or worry. In the end, the joy of honest work isn't just about survival. It's about freedom. The freedom to live openly, to give generously, to walk through life without hiding. And that joy, that peace, is worth far more than any quick gain from dishonest means. So maybe the real question is this: are we chasing pleasure that fades quickly but leaves behind fear? Or are we cultivating a happiness that lasts? A happiness born from integrity, from effort, and from knowing that we have nothing to hide. Because when your work is honest, your heart is free. And that freedom, that peace, is the sweetest joy of all. Honest work is planting merit. Every honest profession is more than just a way to make a living, it's a chance to plant seeds of goodness. A skilled craftsman shaping wood with care, a farmer tending the soil with patience, a shopkeeper treating each customer with sincerity. These may look like ordinary jobs, but in truth, each action is quietly building something profound. They are creating not only a livelihood, but also merit, what the Buddha called the invisible wealth of the heart. Think about it: when a farmer grows rice, he's not just producing food, he's sustaining families. When a teacher patiently guides a child, she's not just teaching letters and numbers, she's shaping a future. When someone runs a small business with honesty, they are not only earning income, they are creating trust and strengthening the fabric of community. These everyday efforts, when done with a clean heart, ripple outward. They nourish life, ease suffering, and bring blessings that no money alone can buy. It's easy to overlook these things, because they don't always come with recognition or applause. No one gives an award to the grocery clerk who greets you kindly, or to the mechanic who fixes your car without overcharging. But in the Buddhist view, these are the real treasures. Every small act of integrity is like dropping a pebble in a pond. The ripples may seem small, but they spread far beyond what we can see. I once spoke with a woman who worked as a seamstress for decades. She told me, "I never became rich. But every time someone wore the clothes I made, I felt like I was part of their life in a gentle way. That was enough for me." Her story captures the essence of honest work, the quiet joy of knowing that your labor supports others and leaves a mark of kindness in the world. And here's something to reflect on: what if your job is not just about income, but about contribution? What if each day at work is a chance to plant seeds, seeds that may grow into trust, into gratitude, into unseen blessings for yourself and others? Doesn't that change the way we look at our careers? Of course, life is not always easy. Honest work can be tiring, sometimes even underappreciated. But even in struggle, there is dignity. Because when we choose to work with integrity, we are choosing to live in alignment with something higher. We are saying, "I would rather plant seeds of peace than harvest fruits of harm." The Buddha reminds us that wealth is impermanent, but the merit from wholesome action follows us like a shadow. A kind word, a fair deal, a meal grown with care, these are not just transactions, they are acts of goodness that shape our character and our destiny. So maybe the deeper question is, are we only working for money, or are we also working for merit? Because in the long run, money will fade, but merit will always accompany us, like a faithful companion on the journey of life. And perhaps that's the true reward of honest work, not just the paycheck, but the quiet certainty that every day, in every small action, we are planting seeds that will one day blossom into blessings. The influence on society. Have you ever wondered what truly holds a society together? It's not just laws, governments, or systems, it's the choices of everyday people. A happy and harmonious society isn't built in a day, it's built moment by moment, through the integrity of the people who live in it. When individuals choose honest work, when they follow right livelihood, the ripple effects go far beyond their personal lives. Imagine a town where most people live with integrity. The shopkeeper sells fairly, the teacher teaches with care, the doctor heals with compassion, the worker gives their best without cutting corners. What kind of community would that be? A place where people trust one another, where neighbors help instead of compete, where there's less fear and more cooperation. In such a society, happiness isn't just an individual pursuit, it becomes something shared, something woven into the very fabric of daily life. The Buddha taught that when greed, deceit, and exploitation decrease, suffering naturally decreases too. And this isn't just spiritual wisdom, it's something we can see around us. Think about corruption in business or dishonesty in politics. Every time integrity is lost, ordinary people end up paying the price. But when honesty and compassion guide our actions, everyone benefits. It's like adding drops of clean water into a river. It purifies not just one corner, but the whole flow. I once read about a small village where the local farmers agreed never to use harmful chemicals, even though it meant slower profits. At first, some thought it was impractical. But over time, their produce gained trust, their community became healthier, and they inspired neighboring villages to follow the same path. That is the power of collective virtue. When individuals choose integrity, society itself transforms. And here's something worth reflecting on. Do we realize that every choice we make at work, whether big or small, is also shaping the society we live in? When we refuse to cut corners, when we treat others fairly, we are not just protecting our own dignity, we are quietly building a better world for our children and grandchildren. Of course, we cannot change the whole world overnight. But imagine if even a few more people in your community chose honesty over greed, kindness over exploitation. What if every paycheck, every transaction, every handshake carried with it a sense of trust? Wouldn't society itself feel lighter, safer, more joyful? The truth is, society isn't an abstract idea. Society is us. It's you, me, and the millions of choices we make every day. A compassionate community is not something handed down from above. It's something we co-create through the way we live and work. The Buddha's vision was clear. A society where people follow right livelihood is a society where suffering decreases and well-being spreads naturally. When fewer people exploit, fewer people get exploited. When fewer people deceive, fewer hearts are broken. And when more people choose honesty, generosity, and compassion, the collective atmosphere changes. It becomes lighter, more peaceful, more humane. So perhaps the deeper question is, what kind of society do we want to pass on to the next generation? Because every honest act today is a brick laid in the foundation of tomorrow's world. And maybe the simplest but most powerful way we can change society is by beginning with our own work, our own integrity, our own lives. Right livelihood in the modern world. When we think of right livelihood, it's easy to picture the occupations of the Buddha's time: farmers, merchants, hunters, healers. But what about today, in an age of digital platforms, artificial intelligence, and global industries? The forms of work may have changed dramatically, but the heart of the teaching remains the same. Any livelihood that harms life, creates addiction, or exploits trust cannot be called right. Take a moment to look around at modern society. Jobs now include things like social media marketing, stock trading, app development, biotechnology, and countless others. But the same question applies: is this work nourishing or harming? Does it uplift human dignity, or does it prey upon people's weaknesses? A digital business that manipulates emotions for profit is no different in spirit from a merchant in the past who deceived customers with false weights. A company that pushes addictive substances or technologies is no different from the tavern owner selling intoxicants in ancient India. The principle is timeless. If it feeds greed, delusion, or harm, it strays from the path of right livelihood. On the other hand, the opportunities for wholesome work today are vast. Imagine the teacher who uses online platforms to reach students across the world, the doctor offering telemedicine to those in remote places, or the entrepreneur building sustainable energy solutions. These are modern forms of right livelihood, careers that not only provide for one's family, but also help heal society and the planet. I remember meeting a young man who worked in tech. He told me that at first, he was excited to be part of a company designing apps, but later, he realized their product was engineered to keep people addicted to their screens. I was making good money, he admitted, but I didn't feel proud of what I was building. Eventually, he shifted to a company focused on mental health apps, and he said something powerful: "Now when I go to work, I feel like I'm helping, not harming." That's the essence of right livelihood in the modern world, not just asking, "Does this job pay?" but "Does this job serve?" And maybe this is a question worth asking yourself. If you look at your work honestly, does it add peace to the world or take it away? Does it contribute to well-being or deepen suffering? Of course, life isn't always black and white. Sometimes we work in gray areas, or we stay in jobs out of necessity. But even there, awareness matters. Even in imperfect conditions, we can choose to be mindful of the impact of our actions. We can use our influence, however small, to shift things toward kindness and integrity. Right livelihood doesn't mean chasing the perfect job. It means aligning our work, as much as possible, with the values of compassion, honesty, and respect for life. In the long run, a clean path is always more sustainable than one built on harm. Because jobs may come and go, industries may rise and fall, but the merit, or the harm, of how we earned our living stays with us. So perhaps the deeper invitation here is this: in a world full of opportunities, let us not only ask, "What can I do to earn?" but also, "What can I do to serve?" Because that is where true success lies, not just in income, but in integrity. Practicing right livelihood in everyday life. When we talk about right livelihood, it's not only about avoiding harm, it's also about choosing to live in a way that nourishes both our compassion and our wisdom. Think about it. We spend so much of our lives working. If the work we do each day drains our spirit, or worse, harms others, then no amount of money can truly bring peace. Practicing right livelihood in daily life means more than just saying, "I won't cheat, I won't lie, I won't harm." It also means asking ourselves, what kind of work allows me to grow? What kind of work helps me become more mindful, more loving, and more free? For some, it may be teaching, creating, or healing. For others, it could be serving a community, building something that lasts, or simply doing honest work with a clear heart. I once met a man who ran a small cafe. He told me, "Every cup of coffee I make is a chance to spread kindness." It wasn't about the profit. It was about the smile on someone's face when they felt cared for. That's right livelihood in action. It doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It just has to be rooted in sincerity, compassion, and mindfulness. And here's something important to remember: every dollar we earn carries energy. It's not just money, it's the fruit of our effort, our time, and our intention. If it's earned honestly, it carries peace with it. If it's earned through harm or deceit, it carries suffering. So when we spend or share what we earn, we are not just using money, we are planting seeds. Seeds that can either grow into joy and trust, or into greed and division. Right livelihood, then, is not a restriction, it's freedom. It's the freedom to know that your work is clean, your heart is clear, and your life is aligned with your values. It's the kind of success that lets you rest peacefully at night, because you know you've contributed to the world in a way that uplifts rather than harms. So, I invite you to reflect. What seeds are you planting with the work you do today? Are they seeds of compassion, of wisdom, of peace? Because every choice, every job, every task is a chance to practice right livelihood, not just for your own happiness, but for the happiness of all beings. Closing right livelihood and lasting peace. At the end of the day, right livelihood isn't about becoming wealthy in a flashy or extravagant way. It's about becoming rich in peace, in kindness, and in trust. A person who works with honesty and compassion may not drive the most expensive car or live in the biggest house, but their heart carries a wealth that no money can buy. It is the wealth of integrity, of blessings, of knowing that your life is not built on harm, but on harmony. Think about it. How many people in this world chase after success only to feel empty when they get it? The Buddha reminded us that true happiness comes not from what we possess, but from how we live. When our livelihood is clean, When it nourishes rather than destroys, we sleep peacefully at night, and we wake up with a sense of meaning. That is a kind of freedom that riches alone can never offer. I once heard a teacher say, "Every honest job is sacred if it's done with mindfulness." Whether you're a farmer, a teacher, a builder, or an artist, it is not the title of the work that matters, but the purity of intention behind it. When we live this way, every act of labor becomes a seed of goodness. Every paycheck becomes more than money. It becomes a reminder that we are contributing to life in a way that uplifts, not diminishes. The Buddha taught, "Live by a pure livelihood, for that is the way to plant seeds of lasting happiness, for yourself and for all beings." These words are not just ancient wisdom, they are timeless guidance for anyone seeking a meaningful life in today's world. So as you reflect on your own path, ask yourself, am I rich in the things that truly matter? Am I planting seeds that will grow into peace, trust, and compassion? Because in the end, the measure of a life well lived is not what we accumulate, but the blessings we leave behind.